Hey there and welcome. Today we're going to dive into a skill that can seriously sharpen your thinking and just make your communication unforgettable. We're talking about building a powerful vocabulary. So, let's get right into it.
You've totally been there, right? I mean, we all have. You're trying to make a point, to explain something perfectly, and you can't find that one word. It's right there on the tip of your tongue, but you just can't grab it. It's so frustrating.
But what if you could swap those kind of fuzzy phrases for words that are just sharp and powerful? Instead of saying you have a vague idea, imagine calling it a nebulous idea. See how that just paints a clearer picture of something hazy and undefined? Or instead of just a greedy person, you could describe someone who's filled with avarice, this deep, insatiable hunger for wealth. All of a sudden, your language has so much more color and precision. That's the power we're going to unlock today.
All right, first up, let's look at words that help us describe people and the way they behave. You can think of these as super precise tools for really understanding human nature. This slide really captures the whole spectrum, doesn't it? On one side, you have a total beginner just starting out, full of questions. And on the other, you've got someone who is just skillfully navigating a really complex situation. These two ends of the spectrum give us our first two words. For the beginner, we've got novice, and for that shrewd, wise negotiator, we have astute.
Do you know anyone who just cannot make a decision to save their life? Well, that's being irresolute. And it's not just about picking a place for dinner. This kind of hesitation can make you miss out on huge opportunities. In a really high-stakes situation, an irresolute officer could even put their soldiers at risk.
In this perfectly gets at the idea of being pretentious. It is all about putting on a show. Just think of those gigantic, over-the-top mansions from the 19th century that were built just to scream, "Hey, look how rich I am." Or, that person who's always telling these exaggerated stories about how great they are. It's all just for show.
Okay, next up is slovenly. This word just perfectly captures a feeling of carelessness. It can describe a physically messy room for sure, but you can also use it for more abstract stuff, like keeping slovenly financial records. The kind that make tax season an absolute nightmare. It really just boils down to a lack of care.
Now, culpable is a really powerful word. It has kind of a legal feel to it, and it means deserving blame. So the key thing here is that someone who drives under the influence is culpable for making that choice, even if they don't get into an accident. The act itself is worthy of condemnation. Oh, we see adulation all the time, especially in celebrity culture. It's not just regular praise, it's excessive praise, it's over the top. Think about an interview with some famous athlete or movie star where it's just one flattering comment after another instead of actual questions. That, right there, is adulation.
Okay, let's move on to our next set of words. These are fantastic for describing abstract ideas, really complex feelings, and those tricky situations that can be so hard to put your finger on.
Anathema is what you call something you absolutely, positively loathe. It's way more than just a dislike. It's an object of pure, intense hatred. For the civil rights workers back in the day, racial segregation was an anathema, a deep moral evil they had to fight.
This is a great one. While conspicuous just means something stands out, egregious means it stands out for being outstandingly bad. It's such a great word. You didn't just commit a foul in the basketball game, you committed an egregious foul, one that was so bad, you got thrown out of the game.
And here's a really beautiful one, evanescent. It describes things that are fleeting, temporary, that just don't last. The Impressionist painters, for example, were masters at capturing the evanescent effects of light, that one brief, beautiful moment right before it changes. It's all about the beauty in things that fade. So we go from the beautiful to the bleak with penury, which means extreme poverty. I mean, if you've ever read anything by Charles Dickens, you have seen these vivid, heartbreaking descriptions of the penury that the working class faced in Victorian England. It's a word that really carries the weight of true hardship.
A supposition is basically an assumption, right? It's a guess you make without having any real proof. And this is such a critical distinction in so many areas of life. A jury, for instance, has to base its verdict on hard evidence, not on suppositions or what they think might have happened.
When you think torpid, just think sluggish. A lot of animals become torpid when they hibernate in the winter. They slow their whole bodies down to save energy. It describes that state of inactivity, whether we're talking about a hibernating bear or a mind that's just become a little dull.
All right, for our final section, we're diving into words that are all about movement, action, and transformation. These are the dynamic words that really bring your descriptions to life.
Abate means to lessen or to subside. It creates a great mental picture. After a big storm finally passes, you can watch the floodwaters slowly abate. Or a city might take some measures to abate the noise pollution from a huge construction site.
You know a procrastinator? Of course you do. Then you know someone with dilatory habits. This tendency to always delay things can have some very real consequences, like a student with dilatory study habits who ends up missing deadlines and getting their grade penalized.
To equivocate is to be deliberately ambiguous, usually because you're trying to avoid taking a clear side. The classic example, of course, is a politician who equivocates during a campaign, trying to appeal to every single voter without actually committing to a position that might upset some of them. Okay, recapitulate is a more formal and, let's be honest, more impressive way to say sum up. At the very end of a trial, you'll see an attorney recapitulate all the key points of their case in their closing argument to the jury, just bringing all the facts together one last time.
And our final word for action is resuscitate, which means to bring something back to life. Now, it can be literal, of course, like paramedics reviving a patient. But it's also incredibly useful in a figurative sense, like how a fantastic movie adaptation can resuscitate interest in a classic novel, bringing it back to life for a whole new generation of readers.
And really, that brings us right back to the main idea. Learning new words isn't just some party trick. It's how you keep your mind active and curious. It's the absolute best way to make sure your thinking never gets sluggish, or as we now know how to say, torpid.
So, with all these new tools in your intellectual toolkit, you are now better equipped to understand the world and, just as importantly, to express your own ideas with real precision and power. The only question left is, what powerful idea will you explain next?